shots that people are getting now cover that. You're okay. You're not gonna get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Somebody gotta do it. Hey, let's go, Brandon. I keep a drum like I'm Nick Cannon. Hey, let's go, Brandon. Pandemic ain't real, they just planned it. Hey, let's go, Brandon. When you ask questions, they start banning. Hey, let's go, Brandon. Hey, let's go, Brandon. Hey, let's go, Brandon.
Well, welcome everyone. We're back with MB Real or Be Real with MB Real, and we're here with Jonathan as well.
What's up?
What's up? So I know there's been this whole topic of COVID vaccination going around, and you must be just so tired of hearing about it. But guess what? We're here to provide facts and to follow up on our last podcast. Right?
Right.
All right. So funny stuff. Did everyone like that song? Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. Well, that's what we're here to talk about.
What's that mean? Do you know what that means? Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. It's Biden. We're banning Biden.
All right.
We're BB. So that's funny because that's what we're going to talk about today. You know about the whole. Remember when we talked about, corporations and government jobs and private businesses being required to have COVID vaccination?
Right.
Well, so it's funny because recently there's over a dozen governors, right, that's bringing a lawsuit against Biden for constitutional infringement, like we discussed before, because now he's trying to impose that private businesses over 100 employees should also require their employees to be vaccinated. And if they're not vaccinated, by, I believe it's January 4th, if they're not vaccinated by then they're going to have to do a weekly test for negative tests, right, in order to keep the business going. So this is going to be an issue.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it's been because I've been looking for jobs lately too, and even in some of the the job postings, it says you need to be vaccinated. So I just don't even apply.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy that, obviously I run a business, I'm not looking for a job, but I see job posts everywhere. But to really say that you have to have a vaccination card in order to apply for a job, that's kind of almost saying you have to be this race or this nationality or this, you have to meet these standards in order to apply. Isn't that this kind of discrimination?
Yeah, I believe so. But I don't know if the law passed or not. But I know in California, they're basically removing civil liberties, like the hiring process. Like you can now in California, it's legal to discriminate against race and sex and all that stuff.
I don't know about that. That's way past constitution. That's beyond constitutional infringement. If you can now hire people based on sex, race, or nationality, and COVID vaccination card, let's just even forget about that. But here's funny, because this whole requirement of vaccination is so important, and businesses cannot function properly if you don't have a COVID vaccination. But the interesting thing that I find is, think about the stats, right? Everything is number stats. We got to prove it. So according to Worldometer, just the whole world, there's over 242 million or something like that cases of COVID, and then about only 5 million deaths. You know what that puts us? About 2%. 2% of the population that's actually died from COVID in the world. And then if you focus on US alone, right? US is about 47 million cases and about 779,000 deaths. That's less than 2%, about 1.6%.
So 2% of the world has died from COVID?
Exactly. But do you know it's 2%, and we're making such a big deal. The focus is always about COVID vaccination, and COVID's shutting businesses down. COVID is making everything impossible for people to operate, just going out. You can't operate normally without a mask or whatever it is. You can't live your day-to-day life. But the point I'm bringing that up is because, there are other issues. There are other diseases, right? There are other causes of death that's way higher than COVID. For example, did you know the leading cause, of death would be chronic heart disease? Do you know that?
Yeah, and especially if you break it down by age, because most of the people that die from COVID are in their late 70s.
So that kind of tells you maybe it's due to lack of immunity. Maybe there's other issues, right? So you have a pre-existing condition. It could be anything. We don't know specifically, but that itself creates a lack of immunity, and that might allow you to catch COVID or a virus or whatever it is, and then you die from it, and then everyone's like, well, that's due to COVID. But there's underlying issues. So if the leading cause of death in the United States is heart disease, which accounts for about 23% of all deaths, this is according to Statista, 23%. And we're saying that worldwide deaths of COVID is only 2%. Why are we focusing so much on it?
Right, and I've known several people that got COVID, and the only ones, none of the skinny ones got sick.
What are you implying?
All the people I know that got COVID, only the fat ones thought they were dying. Like they're all like, "Oh, I feel terrible."
So are you saying that obesity has some sort of factor in in deaths?
I would say obesity and age. So if you're like old and fat.
So again, that proves my point, right?
Yeah.
You have underlying issues that trigger a death in a person if you catch COVID. So that tells me it's not COVID by itself. So here's funny too, based on Statista, right? So heart disease, 23%. Malignant neoplasms, I'm not a scientist, but 21%.
What was that last one called?
Malignant neoplasmism. Anyways,
times fast.
I know, right? But anyways, my point is to prove a point. Not only that, accidents, unintentional injuries, accidents, 6.1%. Okay? Chronic lower respiratory diseases, 5.5%. And then you look at cerebrovascular diseases, 5.3%. Alzheimer's disease, okay? 4.3%. Diabetes, right? Mellitus, 3.1%. And then you have nephrotic syndrome, 1.8%, influenza, all that intentional self-harm, suicide, almost 2% is 1.7%. But COVID deaths, 2%.
Right.
But we require the whole economy to shut down. We declare a pandemic. We don't allow businesses and corporations to be running.
Is it 2% of the world died from COVID or 2% of deaths are COVID?
No, so you have the cases, right? So
Right.
you have X amount of cases. If we're looking at the world, we have over 252 million, right? Cases
of COVID?
Right. Out of that amount, there's about 5 million deaths.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when you do the math, that's barely 2%. That's the world.
Right.
Now, if you look at United States,
and that's worst case scenario because that's if you believe all those people died because of COVID, right?
right? But we're not even going to go into the misreporting,
Right.
the lack of whatever it is, and if it's truly from COVID or not, or they're just reporting it. That's just what's been reported on Worldometer, right? So,
Right.
but if you were to hone in to United States alone, there's about 47 million cases, right?
Right.
And within that 47 million cases, there's only 779,000 deaths. That is about 1.6%. That is lower than all of the diseases that I just mentioned.
Yeah, and they don't check. None of it. The reports you heard, they're all about you need to get the vaccine, and none of it is like you need to lose weight or get some vitamin D or.
No, there's no information about maybe, you drink more water, right? Maybe you exercise more. Maybe you don't, eat certain foods. Maybe you don't subscribe to junk food, or maybe.
Doesn't vitamin D help your immune system, right? And you get it from the sun.
Vitamin D is really important for you. You got to have that, right? You got to go out. You got to maybe take oral vitamin D. You also have to be out in the sun. Vitamin C is important. There's all these vitamins that your body must have. You have the food pyramid in general, right?
They shut down the beach, remember? You would think being outside at the beach where you're not close to anybody, getting vitamin D should be good for you. And they shut down the
Exactly.
beach.
But this is my point. It's like nature cures most things, right? Nature versus nurture, whatever. You have to go out, and if you're holistic, you eat, you eat properly, you have your vitamins, you follow your pyramid food chain, and then you work out, and then you just live a balanced life, and you don't stress out. And then, look at me, for example. I'm not getting the COVID vaccination, and my gosh, I haven't even gotten sick. And I've traveled, I've done business, I've done all this stuff, and I keep myself healthy.
Right. I went to Tijuana and I didn't get sick. So.
Exactly. I've gone to DR, but my point is I'm going to live my life and I'm going to be healthy so I can, prevent myself from getting sick, whether it's COVID, whether it's a flu, whether it's sick. When you're sick, you heal yourself properly. You drink tea, you take honey, you sleep, whatever. If you got to take medication, which I'm more, inclined to do natural, holistic remedy versus that. But you take care of yourself and you live a balanced life, and you're gonna stay healthy. But this is stats, right? You can't argue stats, and this is proof within its pudding. So why are we focusing so much on shutting businesses and the economy down because of COVID? And now, Sacramento is requiring kids aged 5 to 11, I think starting November 4th, to get vaccinated, I think to enter school or to even go to restaurants. They have to show a vaccination card. Not only that, LA has already enforced that for people to go to restaurants and stuff like that to have a vaccination card. But now Sacramento is saying kids from 5 to 11, kids are barely building immune system at that age.
I think San Diego did the same thing too. Like the San Diego school board passed it saying that, once it's approved for that age group, then those kids have to do it. But I don't think it starts till next year. But yeah, San Diego's making kids get vaccinated too.
Yeah, and that's crazy to me. And that's why I'm so happy that over a dozen governors, especially governor from Georgia, Brian Kemp, he's going to make sure that
Brian Kemp?
Yeah, he's going to make sure that that is very important that we fight this. We're going to fight it through. We're going to fight Biden and his unconstitutional mandates about COVID vaccination. So I think the court right now is putting a halt on this mandate of requiring COVID vaccination for private businesses over 100 employees, and then a weekly check. And I'm glad that they're fighting, because somebody has to step up and speak up and fight for the rights of individuals, especially when you're an American citizen and you want to uphold your Constitution. And I'm glad, and I hope there's some positive light that's going to be shined after this, and they're going to keep fighting, and that the government is not going to impose this mandate. Even OSHA, it's over exceeding their limited power for them to go and enforce companies to make people get vaccinated or they can't go to work.
Yeah, this whole thing has definitely been an exercise in government overreach. I don't understand how the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, can mandate that people can't be evicted from their homes. How can the Center of Disease Control say anything about rent? I'll look that way, but this way. Whatever.
Yeah, it's the point is they tell you, well, it's a choice that you have, right? But you don't really have a choice, because if you're banned from going into restaurants, going into places, and you're not allowed to do the things that you normally do, even though maybe you haven't caught COVID or you haven't been sick or whatever, if you're not allowed to do the normal traditional things on a day-to-day, then you don't have the rights to be a citizen here, paying taxes and doing what you have to do, and then your rights are being infringed upon. It's very simple. You say that you don't have to, but in essence you kind of have to if you're prevented from going to places, and then you can't even go to work. I know some people that were forced to get COVID vaccination, or they can't go to work, and that's their livelihood. That's money.
Right.
If you can't pay your bills and if you can't do anything, then you're axed out. You can't do anything. So you're technically indirectly forced.
Right, and what is it? Any company with more than 100 employees, I believe, is going to be the mandate enforced.
Yeah, originally it was by corporations and federal jobs, right, and government jobs, right? But now it's trickling down to private businesses, right?
Right.
Private corporations, businesses, whatever, that have over 100 employees.
For now, and then a couple
who
months from
knows?
now, they'll be like, oh, anyone with over 50 employees.
Yeah, who
That's
knows?
right.
And they were saying they'll get fined, $1,000 a week, and then it ends up to $5,000 every time they violate this. That's crazy. It's
But members of Congress don't have to take it, or their staff. So
that's contradictory.
Yeah.
They're part of a government.
Yeah.
Right? So
busy-
it's government
they're too
has
busy-
so much power.
Congress is too busy doing their insider trading to worry about getting vaccinated.
Oh, they're just ready to impose on everybody else.
Right.
Here's the law, here's the rule, here's the policy, here's what you have to do, but you can't. But we don't have to do it.
Ever since the beginning, all we've seen is the people in power be hypocrites. They're like, oh, you can't leave your house, and then you see Gavin Newsom eating at the French Laundry.
That's an issue with his winery and restaurant.
You see Nancy Pelosi and Lori Lightfoot all getting their hair done, getting their hair did.
No one else can do it, but they can, right?
Right.
Like his winery can be open. He can have a huge birthday celebration. Anyone can come in, but no one else can do it.
They shut the beach down.
That's great. And you can socially distance at the beach.
I work hard. I'm successful. I live on the beach. And
Yeah,
they shut the beach down.
And not only that, is like the whole, like he has a party, no one else can. And then if you go, remember back when they first started shutting
We were still partying.
restaurants? I know, but remember when they were first shutting restaurants, like restaurants that have food or serve food that have alcohol can be open, but then
Right.
it went to the point where French fries and like snacks and chips weren't considered food, right?
Oh,
Remember that? It wasn't considered food, so then you have to order like a burger or a meal. But
Everyone was just kind of doing their own thing because I went to one place and I ordered like a bag of chips or I ordered like chips and salsa, and they're like, no, you have to order real food, like you said. So I was like, okay, a taco, and they're like, yeah, that counts.
So now they're telling us what we can't. What's the definition of food and not food? I mean, anything that you ingest and put in your mouth should be considered food. You eat chips, you eat fries, that should be food. So it's not enough to order appetizers and have drinks at the bar because it's not considered food, and you have to order entrees and order. But to me, there's no uniformity. What difference does that make? You're eating still. You're putting stuff in your mouth. Your hands free. Your mask is off. Like, what's the point? It's still the same concept. But you see how hypocritical that is. They can have a party with all these people, Gavin Newsom, but then everyone else can't. And businesses are hurting. This is the whole point of this, is that people are hurting. Businesses are hurting. We can't run the economy. You know, what did Calvin Coolidge says? He said, America's business is business. Okay? Without businesses operating and opening and surviving, then you don't have an economy.
Did you just go Calvin Coolidge?
Yeah, I did. America's business is business. Without business, there ain't no business.
Right.
You know? This is BS.
Yeah.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense, you know, like when you go to a restaurant, you have to wear your mask and then you sit down. And then you can take your mask off when you sit down. But you can't order a drink unless you buy food. Like, none of it makes any sense whatsoever.
No, and then people, none of it makes sense. And it's like anytime you speak your mind and you speak against the status quo, you're all automatically like axed out. Even Facebook, I mean, anytime there's a topic or information about COVID, you get strike. So, and you get strike. But here's the thing, CDC itself is not even reporting accurate numbers. And it's constantly, it's funny, we talk about CDC not reporting accurate numbers. Did you know that they recently changed the definition of vaccination because of COVID? How ironic is that, the timing, right?
Right.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't want to butcher this, but it's funny because the word immunity is a big issue for people, right? I mean, before...
Oh, it's a big issue for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll go into that. But here's the thing. I mean, I know he's getting all sorts of, hate, because, he's saying he's immune to it, right? But I'm going to read this to you. This is actually from CDC. So previously, let me read to you first what immunity is, right?
Is this the current? Oh, this is the definition of immunity?
Yeah, I'm going to read to you. Okay, so this is CDC, okay? And you can find it on their website too. So immunity means protection from an infectious disease. If you are immune to a disease, you can be exposed to it without becoming infected. Okay? So previously, the definition of vaccine is a product that stimulates a person's immune system to produce immunity to a specific disease. Okay? Obviously protecting a person from that disease. Vaccines are usually administered, through needle injection, but can also be administered by mouth or spray, blah, blah, blah. But the whole point of vaccination, the act of introducing a vaccine into the body to produce immunity to a specific disease. That was the definition before.
Up until how long ago?
Up until September 1st.
Of this year?
Of this year. Ironically, September 1st, CDC changed the definition. Now, vaccine is a preparation that is used to stimulate the body's immune response against diseases. The same old vaccination. The act of introducing a vaccine into the body to produce protection from a specific disease. Now it's protection. Right? Before it was produce immunity. Vaccination is to produce immunity. September 1st, vaccination, a vaccine into the body to produce protection. So you are no longer immune. You are just somewhat protected.
Right.
So if you have your mRNA, your first and second, you're not protected. You can catch COVID. And then there's a booster. And then there's an additional shot, whatever, if you have a lower immune system. But then it's like if you have a COVID vaccination, you're still not protected. You can still catch COVID.
Right.
So what's the point of vaccination? And they changed the definition.
That
is shady.
Right.
Shady.
So
let's go, Brandon.
So what's the big? So
let's
what's
go, Brandon.
So what's the key difference? It went from saying that you'll be
immune.
A vaccine would say that you were immune, and now the vaccine just prepares you to protect yourself.
Just one word: immunity. And then this is what you were talking about with Aaron Rodgers. He got so much hate because he said he was immune, and now he's not immune, and I believe he shouldn't have to be forced to show his medical records, but that's another side note. And now they're giving him so much hate. But here's the reality: even if he decides he wants to get COVID vaccinated, he's still not immune. He is still only protected, and in that manner can still catch COVID.
Right. And they said in the facilities, the team facilities during practice, he would wear a mask and stuff. But everyone's mad because the public, the media and everything, thought he was vaccinated. So when they found out, so what happened was he tested positive for COVID and he had to miss a game because he tested positive. Everyone's like, "Oh, I thought you were vaccinated," and that's when the truth came out.
I don't think he directly said it. I think he implied it, though, right?
He said, "I've been immunized."
Yeah, but I've been immunized is not saying I've had COVID vaccination.
Well, technically,
according to the definition,
I was going to say, with the new definition, that does count as being vaccinated.
Whatever.
I don't know. Well, we don't know what he did. If he took the stuff that you're not allowed to say on YouTube, the stuff that Joe Rogan took,
maybe he read the definition.
Yeah,
maybe he Googled vaccination and he said, and then all of a sudden it changed on him too.
Because you're not allowed to say that stuff on YouTube, what it's called. But if you took that stuff that Joe Rogan took, and that prepares your body and works as a prophylactic under the new definition, that would be vaccination, I believe, because it's preparing your body to fight infection. So maybe he was telling the truth.
So if I take God's juice and it says I'm protected from COVID,
if you take what?
God's juice, I don't know, some sort of Jesus Christ juice from juice from God, or the
Are you talking about holy water?
Yeah, you take holy water and then
what is God's juice?
I'm just whatever you got. I'm saying, and then they tell you that you're protected from COVID. Does that mean Does that mean based on the definition I am literally vaccinated?
God's juice just sounds kind of funny.
Whatever, just forget the God's juice. Whatever juice, and it's claimed to be protect you from catching COVID. Does that mean that's in essence a form of vaccination? Because you're not immune. The whole point of vaccination is to be immune from that disease.
Right.
But you're not immune anymore. So why are we forcing companies and people to get COVID vaccination when you're not even immune to the disease?
And I get super annoyed when people are like, "Oh, there's no perfect vaccine, and the vaccine, there's no." But I've been vaccinated against polio.
But that was before the definition changed.
But I never got polio, and I never knew anyone that got polio. So,
but again, that was before the definition changed.
But it seems like the polio vaccine worked because I never heard of it.
Because you're immune.
But the new one,
you're just protected. But then you can still catch COVID.
If my girlfriend was on birth control and I still had to wear a condom, I'm like, what is this?
Exactly. I mean, okay, just to clarify, we are not medical experts. We're here to
we're experts in everything else other than medical.
We're just here to give you some stats that we read and some references. That's all. I mean, do your own research. That's the whole reason why we have this platform. Be real with MB Real. And we're here to just give you references and information that we come across to challenge the other side, or else it's just going to be one-sided information.
None of this is financial, legal, or medical advice.
Yes, so please do not take this personally. Just keep an open mind is all we ask, right?
But we are experts in everything else. Just not the stuff we can get kicked off YouTube for.
That is so funny, yeah. And the reason why I say we're not experts is because
we'll get kicked off YouTube.
Well, because I mean,
people are getting in trouble for giving GameStop stock advice, so you gotta be careful. I ain't expert.
That is funny, but not only that is I do recommend that people read the medical research about Pfizer that came out with the testing, because there's a lot of misinformation, and there's also known like it like increases or inhibits or protein or something, and it can cause cardiovascular issues.
Oh, the
stuff like that.
myocarditis?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. Not that word, but it can cause cardiovascular, and even like, don't quote me on this, but infertility and women's ovaries. So to think that pregnant women are being asked to get COVID vaccinated is beyond me, especially when there's, I mean, when it comes to research, there's investors involved, and you have to look into like, who is it benefiting, right?
Right.
Usually it benefits the person that's going to say what they have to say in order to get the information or the product pushed out. So I do advise that people read about the research and Pfizer and like, what's been going on and what they found out as far as in relation to this, the COVID vaccination.
Right. There was a reporter for ESPN, and she was trying to get exempted because they required all their employees to get vaccinated. And she said her and her husband are currently trying to have a baby. Like, she's trying to get knocked up. And she was worried. She was worried about what kind of effects. And they're like, sorry. Like, so she lost her job.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can read a little clip, because that's why I do recommend, this is Rights Freedoms WordPress, that it says the assumption that vaccine developers have been working with is that the mRNA in the vaccines would primarily remain in and around the vaccination site. Pfizer's data, however, show the mRNA and subsequent spike protein are widely distributed in the body within hours, right? This is a serious problem, as a spike protein is a toxin shown to cause cardiovascular and neurological damage. It has also reproductive toxicity, and Pfizer's biodistribution data show it accumulates in women's ovaries. Okay? And then once in your blood circulation, the spike protein binds to platelet receptors and the cells that line your blood vessels. When that happens, it can cause platelets to clump together, resulting in blood clots or cause abnormal bleeding. And Pfizer documents submitted to the European Medicines Agency also show the company failed to follow industry standard quality management practices during preclinical toxicology studies, and that key studies did not meet good laboratory practice standards.
And we'll put all of our links that we use as sources in the description, so you can see what we're not just pulling it from out of nowhere.
Right. Again, we're not here to persuade you. We're not here to intentionally mislead you or give you misinformation or change your opinions or whatever your belief system is. We're here to really just give you another side of the information. Hope that you can at least take this into consideration and read our references, read, articles, and just kind of see the other side of it. We're here to just tell you that, but it really works my nerves up that we can't make our own decision based on information we read, and we're like forced to do what the government want us to do. Right. We're socialists.
Yeah, and a lot of us have been saying this from the very beginning. They're like, first they're going to make us wear a mask, and then they're going to make us get a vaccine, and everyone's like, oh, no, they won't. So we've been saying this, a lot of us have been saying this for 2 years. So it's almost disappointing to be right sometimes when you see... And I was like, I told you.
I guess it's the only time when it's disappointing to be right? Because everyone's against you, and then everybody wants to make you feel like your opinion doesn't matter. And I don't know.
Have you seen that meme where like the dog's sitting like in the room that's on fire, and it's like, this is fine, and you're just sitting there? That's like what it feels like right now.
No, I haven't, but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's crazy. Anywho, I mean, that's kind of what we have for you guys today. So we would love to hear some feedback or some comments, and make sure that you check us out and subscribe. All right?
I guess that's what we have for this week.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
All right.
All right. Ciao.